Howdy. How's it going? It's interesting to me when something that seems so normal becomes so rare. And in this case, it's listening. I remember around 10 years ago, at my theater job, I had two coworkers I was just talking to, and they started talking to me a little bit about, kind of their problems they were going through. Just kind of like day-to-day stuff, you're kind of asking like, how are you doing and all that. And I go to change one of the sodas, right? And I come back and they're they're giving me these compliments. Like, I guess they were talking highly of me as I was gone. And I was like, what's going on? Like, Pete, that was amazing. I was like, what was? You actively listening. I was like, that's a rarity? And they're like, yes. And it got to the point where they're like, oh, it kind of hurts to say, but they said it's a rarity, like to the point that they said they wish they like dated guys that did that. And I was like, just listening? Yeah, but I take a step back, and while that was kind of them to say, it makes me realize that we, in a world where, again, information is at our fingertips, we have computers at our fingertips, we have become, it's true, we've become so distracted with everything in the palm of our hand that what's right in front of us can be dismissed. And so part of that is actively listening can go away as a commonality. And it really amazes me how much just saying hi and listening for just a little bit can go so far.
Just smile and wave.
Whether you're in high school, college, you're at a convention, you're at a weekly meetup with a bunch of friends, saying hi and just listening even for a little bit can make all the difference for someone. Because especially now, we live in a world where people do unfortunately look at their phones while they're talking to someone. And this isn't a beat up on phones, it's a beat up on, courtesy and the skills of active listening. And active listening involves, it involves a little act of, it involves selflessness. It involves being able to, one, not have a response ready before someone's even talking, just so you can talk more about yourself. But two, you're actively listening to that person's experience and story, which you can learn a lot from. Obviously, the topics can vary from so many things, from how good lemon saltwater taffy is to where did the other colors of Tootsie Rolls go, because I would still like to try the green one. That's actually true. And so, you can start gauging whether the conversation is worth your time. But if someone's being rude and maybe not giving an appropriate topic, that's more on them. In general, though, you're catching up with a friend, and whether you see them at the store or at some weekly get together, so much can happen in a week. And I think it really goes far, not just in common respect, but you'd be surprised how much people, when they feel valued, they want to replicate that. So, the next time you do see your friend, I know that some people have like social anxieties, but I'm telling you that, be the wall breaker. And unless someone really, really, really doesn't want to be talked to, and there are signs, if they're at a coffee store and they have their headphones in, but if you know the person, they'll probably wave at you. But other than that, like, I think we've become ironically pretty socially distant. Again, not just with phones, it's just communication is ironically at our fingertips, and yet right in front of us, it's more distant. And I think that listening skills, unfortunately, have deteriorated. And so, again, back to that movie theater experience, to me, I responded to them. I was like, I'm just having a conversation, I'm glad you guys feel great in general, but that threw me off, that they were complimenting me because I was actively listening. You know, I wasn't on my phone, and I was listening to what they're going through. It's interesting as the world can become so self-centered in a me universe. You put that down, be a bit selfless, and listen to the other side. And hopefully you're hoping that again they start emulating those actions, because I think if we live in a world where more people are both active listeners and engage in the conversation, just in general, I think that's just a good world to be in. You know, it starts to chip away at the walls created that could form these weird forms of, you know, tribalism and echo chambers. And by being more of active listeners from both sides, it's important. If you're being the active listener and you're giving someone a chance and they're not reciprocating that, they are not being active listeners after a few times, then yeah, your self-respect should have you create boundaries and be like, okay, you're not valuing this conversation, so I'm gonna go elsewhere. You say hi, but yeah, there is a certain point for sure where if someone's not going to participate in the conversation, you know, engage, like aka, I mean, there's there's common memes about, like, you know, the stick figures where they're trying to tell someone about their day or talking and they're on their phone. And then the stick figure just stops talking to see if they notice, and they don't. Yeah, that actually happens. And so it's definitely, you know, it's important to try. It's important to, when you actually ask someone how you've been, I mean, listen to them. You know, engage, you know, everyone does have their own story, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or the full anthology. It's good to be an active listener. Develop those skills. The phone really can wait. Not just, of course, don't text and drive, but you'll be all right. If it's an emergency, I think the phone will let you know, but you know, I'm glad that there was that movement of putting your phone down when you're at like a table for food, for eating a meal. And that's big. I've done that for a long time, ever since, you know, ever since I was getting a cell phone, and you know, they started pushing that out there more and more about, like, you know, putting your phone face down. And I mean, there are cool tricks you can do to, obviously, if you're waiting for important business calls, but I think that's also just a good statement to like the people you're with, is, you know, having your phone down and showing that you're being an active listener, an active presence. And so I say this on stream all the time. I'm in astronaut training right now, so I'm trying not to do this. I was just wearing the mask earlier. Hold on. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Woo. All right. Get that check mark done. Woo. That'll help me the rest of the day. Yeah. Next time you see your friends, family members, say hi, you know, and spend a little bit of time. I know we're all busy, but just spend a little bit of time, just actively listening. You know, you could learn a lot. And if it's just a down-to-earth, respectful conversation, nice. And the snowball effect you can cause for those people to do that for others, that's a world worth living in. I love Mondays.